Today on Middle Eastern Media, you join us as we answer some of your most frequently asked questions.
Hello, this is Jodh, and I'm here speaking with you from the Middle East. And the first question we have is, what is life like where you live? So sadly, life in the Middle East is not lived to the fullest of possibilities. Lords own land and have the power to cripple many people because taxes are not imposed on them, while everyone else struggles to provide for their families. This makes it hard for anyone but the lords to prosper, so the gap in wealth and power is immense, which hinders the progression of the society greatly. What religion do you practice? And personally, I practice Islam, just like most of the people in the Middle East, but there are a few amount of people who practice religions such as Judaism and Christianity. Personally, I feel that a common religion in a region allows for more unity and togetherness in a society. And since most of the people here in the Middle East are Islamic, we all have something in common with each other. Who controls your actions, and are you allowed to make your own decisions? And as much as I would like to say that I am in full control of everything I do, unfortunately that's not the case. Here in the Middle East, the rulers of the land control most of what we do, where we work, and what privileges we are allowed to have. People try to defy the rulers, but it usually doesn't work, and they are punished for their unprecedented actions.
First question, who controls whom? Well, I'd say that Britain specifically saved Israel from the Ottoman Empire after World War I, thanks to the League of Nations who thought we were worthy of overseeing it. The plan was for us to help Palestine until they were ready for independence. Egypt, on the other hand, was at first occupied by that bloody leader Muhammad Ali, who lost it to the Ottoman Empire and then gained control of it somehow in 1841. Luckily, Britain became in control of the Suez Canal in 1882. Sorry, got to have my afternoon tea. Second question, what factors were considered when you gained control of Egypt slash Israel? Well, like I said, we were given the opportunity to oversee Palestine, and I think its location was quite convenient for us, and the fact that the Middle East was previously doing so well in the discovery of oil and natural resources, it just made it easier for us. I don't think our national interest in the land affected Israel because ultimately the conflict was only between the Palestinians and the Jewish immigrants that were entering Palestine. For Egypt, there were a number of reasons. First of all, its location next to the Red Sea was convenient and enticing, its growing economy, and the creation of the Suez Canal.
What form of government controlled Israel/Egypt, and how did it affect those living in the area? From the very beginning, the British established a form of government that upheld direct control. They replaced local leaders with their own men and hoped that over time the native people would begin to adapt to the new culture. Both the British and the natives suffered greatly from this strategy. Having new people come into your life and change everything that you know for years is something that most people never adapt to. Unfortunately, that was exactly the case for the natives. They did not adjust to the rule of the British. Their failed rebellions put the land in a state of constant battle, not only for the natives and the British, but also between the natives and themselves. What happened during the Age of Imperialism? The Age of Imperialism was a very tense time for those in the Middle East, and to those who tried to conquer the Middle East. Outsiders never found major reasons to conquer these lands. That was until the hunt for natural resources struck gold and found hundreds of petroleum that filled the land in Israel, Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. This major finding allowed many territories in the Middle East to industrialize, but for others it meant that they would be conquered by European forces.
What changed for the people after the Europeans showed up? After the Europeans came to the Middle East, the people were forced to merge into a culture that they did not understand nor did they agree with. The new religion, government, and rule implemented by the Europeans changed all that the native people had ever known, and they did not oblige by the European rule, which unfortunately caused a breakout of battles between the Europeans and the natives.
When did Egypt and Israel achieve independence, and what were your thoughts on it? Well, there were many conflicts between the Palestinians and Jewish immigrants and Jews over the homelands, and we didn't want to lose support from either side, so we created the Balfour Declaration, which to make promises to both of the lands, except for the fact that it failed because the two sides just could not live together at all. The Palestinians were scared that the number of Jewish immigrants coming in would affect them. So we decided to call for a partition of the country, and we got a little bit of help from the United Nations. Although Britain was a little disappointed, we felt bad for the Jews after the Holocaust. So we thought, why not? The final date of Israel's independence was May 14, 1948. Egypt, on the other hand, was controlled by Britain for quite a while, from 1882 to 1956, with a few gaps in between. Officially, Egypt had a revolution in 1952 when Gamal Abdel Nasser led a group originally to just overthrow King Farouk, but then grew into establishing a whole republic. It led to Egypt gaining independence on June 18, 1953, and the Suez Crisis is what officially cut Britain's ties with Egypt.
What happened during decolonization? The Suez Canal is the canal that connected the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea and was built by Muhammad Ali with the help from France. Britain and France were in the run for the rule over the canal. On October 29, 1956, Israeli forces invaded Egypt towards the canal with the help from Britain and France, who made an agreement with Israel. They ended up defeating the Egyptians. However, the pressure from the rest of the world forced Israel and other European nations to withdraw from Egypt. This left Egypt in control of the canal once and for all and officially ended Britain's rule in Egypt.
How have the British imperialists affected you and your people today? So many of us were living in normal lives that people in our social class would typically have. But when the Europeans came, they changed everything that we had ever known or wanted to know. It's because of their ignorance that we were forced into submission to doing things that we did not agree with. And we had no power, and they did not listen to anything we said. So our culture was forced to resemble that of the Europeans. What is life like in Egypt today? And in Egypt, recently, due to the lasting effects of British imperialism, to be more specific, on January in 2014, a new constitution banned the creation of parties that were based on religion.
Okay, so isn't that a good thing?
A good thing? Are you kidding? It is all your fault that we have to fight against a religion that is an abomination towards what we practice. Ever since you showed up, people have been converting to your religion and demoralizing everything that we have ever thought to be right.
Well, at least you now have a religion that is respectable in your country. I'm not talking about the one that was there before we arrived.
Okay, well, that's enough of that. Thank you for joining us today on Middle Eastern Media. We'll see you next time.